Okay, so welcome everyone. I think some names I haven't seen previously, so it'd be nice to just have a quick, do you want to say hello and have a quick introduction today?
Hi, my name is Sahani. How are you?
Yeah, well, how are you?
I am good.
And would you like to tell us a little bit about where exactly, which level you are at your psychology study and everything?
Actually, I have just started psychology. It's certificate psychology, like diploma type.
Okay, the diploma, very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Anyone else would like to introduce themselves? Okay, so today we're going to focus on literature review. So what I prepare for today's workshop, let me just start my slides. Okay, here. So the aim of today's session is to provide you with the basic skills in order to be able to conduct your literature review in psychology. And when we say literature review, it relates, for example, what you have to think, any kind of assignment you might have, any research project later on related to your dissertation. So it's kind of all the information, all the research that is being done related to the topic that you're focusing, you're interested. And we're going to see, obviously, the aim of this workshop is to be more practical, okay, to understand how we do things and try and make it more simple. So what we're going to do today is like log into the University of Essex online library resources and just have a little look about the different kind of where we can find, for example, different options like, upcoming workshops where we find the database, and what we're going to focus on conducted some literature review using Google Scholars, PsychoInfo, PubMed, Scopus, and Web of Science. These are kind of the most common database we use in psychology. So to start with, I have a link where it takes us straight to the library. Okay, so I'm going to share the link in the chat in a second. I want to remind you, I know some of you, obviously, you might be familiar, but I thought it would be nice because there is some confusion because obviously you use your personal emails to log in into the Moodle. So I thought it would be just to remind you, when you access the library, you need your University of Essex username and password to log in into the system. We're going to have a little look around the site, and then obviously I've highlighted what we're going to do because I thought it's easier once you have information like written as well as when I demonstrate. When you go back and you see the workshop, it will be easier, to navigate. So we're going to click on the libraries, and then you need to focus on what you need to do is like access resources via the University of Essex online. And what I always like to do is like click on the subject guide, which is the psychology, and that brings the basically all the resources available related to psychology. If you, for example, study psychology with another subject, obviously you can refine this the subject area, okay, because you might find other resources available. But today's workshop is going to be more focused on psychology and the main kind of database we use in psychology. So I'm going to actually now share, let me just stop sharing. And I want to do, what I want to share is like the link to the library. So you can all, there you are. I'm going to share the link to the library. So if you click on the link, okay. just move that. So what you can see here is like the main kind of page, okay, for the library. What we want to do is like go here where it says library and go to the University of Essex Online, because that would give you access to the specific resources you have as a University of Essex Online student. Okay, so you click here. And here you can start, for example, searching, different kind of journals, etc. For me personally, as I said, I like to go to the subject guide here. And if you scroll down, you can go to psychology resources here, and you click here. And that brings you, in all the information related, you see you have key resource, you have journal here, you have your database, thesis, dissertations. And as I said, as I mentioned previously, some upcoming kind of workshops that you can sign up, which I think are very useful. So view these kind of workshops as like a guide where to find resources. But if you want to look into more specific kind of like, how do I reference, or how do I use, for example, EndNote, etc. There are different kind of workshops within the library you can sign up. And I can show you in a second. So if you click here in the library workshops, it would take you in that page, and it tells you all about the different kind of workshops, which what you want to focus on is the ones that they're online. And then you can sign up in this particular workshop and just participate. Here it's introduction to referencing, or it says, here it would be something like Google search skills, etc. Any kind of topic you might find interesting and you want to gain more information, I would suggest it's a very good resources that are available. Were you aware of these kind of workshops in the library?
No, I wasn't. Thank you for that.
Okay. I think that's one of the things that I want, because it's like there are so many resources available, and sometimes students are getting a little bit bombarded with information, and sometimes they're not aware of all the things that they're there for them, to use. So that's it when it comes like to the basic kind of library resources. So what we're going to focus today is the databases, okay? And we're going to look one by one how we do our searches, etc. As you can see here, we have the PsychoInfo, which we're going to have a look in a second. And you can see there are some kind of YouTube how-to guides. It's like basically what we're doing today. It will give you more information about how you research, different tips of how to narrow your research down. Which again, a lot of resources related to each one of these database. So we talk in a previous, for example, workshop about the psychotest, which is all the resources available, like questionnaires, different kind of psychological measurement tools. And again, we're going to focus on the PubMed, the Scopus, the Web of Science. So these are all databases, okay? So let me go back to my presentation. If you have any questions while I'm just going through, because it's a lot of information, we'll put it together, just, stop me and ask me, okay? Before we start, so let's say we're interested in, let's say I'm interested to conduct a research in addiction, let's say, and mental health, okay? So the way I'm going to start looking at these two words is very important, and the way I connect my search with these two words. So before we start, you need to familiarize yourself with what we call Boolean search. So the Boolean search uses critical terms combined with the three leading Boolean operators, which is the words and, or, and not. And that kind of organizes our searches. So if I want to find, let's say, journals that contain both mental health, did I say internet? mental health, and what did I say? I can't remember. I say internet addiction, let's say, and mental health. And I want my research, my search, sorry, to combine both of these words. I want any journal that has both terms. I need to connect my both terms with the word "and." So you see the example here, we have violence and television. So what it does, if you see the blue area, okay, it takes any kind of journals or resources that has these two words. If I connect my two terms with the word "or," it kind of takes all the resources that has either internet addiction or mental health. This will give me very broad kind of resources, because when you think about it, if I'm particularly interested in the combination of these two, I can get journals that related to mental health and, for example, AIDS, or mental health and I don't know, cultural difference, etc. So it's not going to be very good for what I want, let's say, to research. The last one is the word "note." So imagine, for example, again, as I say, the example that I use, internet addiction and mental health, but I don't want, for example, to include depression in my search. I'm only interested, let's say, in other kind of mental health issues. I want to exclude depression from my search. So I can use the words internet addiction and mental health, not depression. So that would exclude any kind of resources that they have the word depression in. Like, I can define that specifically, might be on my abstract that I want to exclude that, or on the main text, etc. And that's kind of a broad word. So the "and," "or," and "not" is kind of the main kind of words we're using when we're doing our literature reviews. Have you come across anything like that before?
Maria, hi, Natasha here.
Hi.
I was going to ask, by excluding, say, for example, using your example of, say, not depression,
Yeah.
do you run the risk, though, of maybe missing out on the bigger picture by narrowing your search so much that actually you lose a bigger context?
It could be. This is very generic now. So imagine that when you start your research, it's very broad. Okay, so let's say you identify in the area 100 journals, okay, which you save and you have them, like, you know, in a separate kind of file. And then you want, within that 100, let's say, journals, you want to exclude this particular, let's say, because you want to focus on, I don't know, anxiety, let's say, and you don't want to include depression in your research, you would then redo your search and exclude that word.
I see. Okay, so it's more like a stepping stone.
Yes, yes.
And you segregate down until you have a specific set of journals which meet your criteria.
Because what you have, we will see, I'll demonstrate in a bit. When you do your search, you get like thousands of resources. So it's impossible to go through all of these resources. So even though you start, and as I say, I think a lot of students get overwhelmed at the beginning when they start the literature reviews. They don't know where to start, what is the relevant information. I think the first step when you want to research an area, it's very useful to have like a little mind map and start writing down the words you're interested and start looking based on, you know, these words and how you want them to connect. So you have an idea what you want to research. Do you want to find a difference, for example? Do you want to find an association? So you start doing like a little connections between your words, and that will help you when it comes to actually doing your your literature review, your search, to narrow down the resources that are relevant for your research question.
Okay.
Mm?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the first one we're gonna have a look is it's open to everyone, which is the Google Scholars, which I think sometimes it's quite straightforward to get some information, what is out there, what is available. Okay, so I will share again the link with everyone. Just a second. Let me just share the link for Google Scholars in the chat. Okay. Where am I sharing? So what we're going to search here, we're going to put, I have an example, we have internet addiction and social media, and then we're just going to navigate on the site. We're going to click on the advanced search, and then we see the different kind of options we have here and some of the settings, so we can create alerts and receive notification in our email account. So for example, anytime, let's say, any article, any journal related to internet addiction and social media, I will get a notification in my email so I can keep updated of any kind of new research is coming within the area that I'm interested. And let me just go actually on the site and demonstrate. So that's what we see when we go to Google Scholar. So if I put internet addiction and social media, as we said before, the word "and", it means that I want any kind of journal that has the combination of these two key terms, okay? So you can see here, I have 323,000 results. It's a lot of journals that I have. So when we do our research, we might want to narrow it down. So I might, let's say, want information about what has been recently published, you know, the last year. So I want to put like something like since 2020. So that you see how my results went down to 3,930. Yeah. Here we also have, here it gives me like any type of kind of, it would be like a journal, communication, a chapter book, anything. Whereas here I can click review articles, and that would take me down to 843. I would suggest, and that's from my experience, when you start on a topic that you're not very familiar with, the best way to start is by researching review articles. Review articles, basically what they do, they take, based on, obviously, here you can see a review on scale development. So this is what they took, like all the research that have been done, focus on how, let's say, social media addiction has been measured up to now. So it gives you a nice overview. It's like doing the job for you in essence, because these researchers have researched, let's say normally will be within the last 10 years. So you have quite update kind of information of all the research being done in the area. You have the resources, because if you read the journal, then all the reference you have within the journal, you can go and further research. Okay, so it's kind of putting them all together. Does that make sense? Do you want me to explain it again? So the review journals.
Yes, please,
yes.
Please explain. I haven't got your point.
Yeah. So the research journal, the review journal, sorry, they basically take any published kind of article within the area, let's say, that I'm interested, let's say internet addiction and mental health, and they put all the information together to give an overview of what is happening up to now, let's say. So if this, for example, you see you have like neuroticism and internet addiction, what is happening, a systematic conceptual review, and that's published in 2022. So that would give me an indication of very recent, what is the connection there? Because don't forget I put mental health, which is like neuroticism can be under the umbrella of mental health. Because my search is very broad, it would put under the umbrella more generic kind of mental health issues. It's just, I would just have a look. Let me just click there. Would they give me? I'll just navigate. So if you go down, so you see here, it gives me all the records, what they identify, all the informations about the studies, which will be on a table. It should be here somewhere. Let me just find. You see, for example, the discussion, it would give me, so it has 56 studies that they review, okay? And it would give me the basic kind of trends of these 56 studies that they review based on that specific kind of topic. So it give me a quick kind of overview of what is happening, what they found, where we are based on the research. And if you go down then in the references, it will be all the studies that they review, that they included in the review, which you can then use to navigate further and research further, look into the topics. You know, you might identify a study that you want, it's particularly of your interest, so you can just straight click into that study and go straight to research the area further.
Maria?
Yeah.
I found, so I've only literally just, I'm in my very first module, so
yeah,
module which is coming to an end. So for my limited use that I have used Google Scholar, what I found is that I find an article or a paper that I'm interested in, but then I can't access the actual whole thing. So I go to the library and I can't access it. I know a lot of it seems to be under Elsevier as a publisher, but I didn't know, is that normal? Am I just referencing something wrong, or?
No, sometimes it's not going to be all. That's the thing, the limitation with Google Scholar. It's not going to be all, like, let's say, open access, so you can access them. Sometimes you can find, I think it's just, as I say, it's like a quick kind of overview of the topic, and you might find a journal and you can go back then in the library, in the database, which we're going to look in a second, and you might find access to different database.
Okay. So that's not uncommon then, right? Okay.
No, it's not. So you can see here, so for example, you see, I have like access, you know, normally it would tell you if you have access to that specific journal, okay? And here, obviously, I can save, let's say that I've read this article and I want to save it, I want to have it like for later on, and I can create, for example, let's say you see here, I create assignment 1. So let's say that I'm doing an assignment and it's relevant, the material that I found, and I want to add them, so I have it in my list. So I click here and done. So when I go to my assignment 1, I have all the journals that I saved on my search. Here, you know, it tells you how to cite, for example, the specific journal based on APA style, which we commonly use in psychology, or you can export to EndNote if you use any of these kind of reference management reference software.
Sorry, Maria, I've got another question.
Yeah.
On the referencing, is there a danger that isn't updated as the APA update their edition?
It could be, yeah, because there is one of the database they didn't have. There was like up to version 6. You need to double check that.
Okay. Is there any way that it would tell me what that citation is from? Because I'm still trying to get my head around the references, and I wouldn't necessarily look at that and think, oh, that's APA style 7 or 5. Is there any way of knowing?
The Google Scholars doesn't tell you, but some of the other database we're going to look, they do tell you it's APA version 7.
Okay, thank you.
We need, that's something we need, like, probably to look into more detail, really research that if the Google Scholars has an update version of APA 7, really, version 7.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Maria,
so
may I ask a
yep.
question,
Yeah,
please?
yeah,
And
of course.
it's to follow up on what Natasha's saying, because I've experienced exactly the same thing
Yeah,
quite a lot, and particularly within APA.
yeah,
And sometimes it doesn't seem to be consistent. Sometimes I'll find that I've got access to the article, sometimes not. Sometimes I have to go back and kind of log in again with my university credentials,
yeah,
and then it'll decide, yeah, we've got access because University of Essex has
yeah,
access.
yeah, yeah.
But it's, as Natasha said, it's frequent. But I don't know about you, Natasha, but I'm not finding it consistent.
I mean, I think because I'm so new, I
Yeah.
don't know what to expect. So I don't kind of know what's normal or what isn't. But I know on the last essay, I think there was literally about 8 papers that I found that I couldn't get access to. I asked the librarians and they just said,
Yeah.
like, I'm really sorry, there is none. So it was just a little bit frustrating, but I didn't know whether that was I just maybe wasn't searching in the right way. So this is actually quite good. So at least I understand that it's not, that's just an issue, and it is what it is.
It is, yeah, because I mean, the things we're going to look by the library, you would see, I mean, there's like specific kind of functions you can say where you have like open access, or, you know, so you know what you're researching, it's going to be there. This is like some very, I'm not recommending Google Scholars, but I just want to demonstrate how we do it if you want to use it.
Oh, yeah, no, that makes sense. That's why I was thinking
Yeah.
maybe I shouldn't go to Google Scholar, because I'm just making more.
Yeah,
work for
more.
myself.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah.
I know because a lot of students use it, I thought just to demonstrate the different kind of functions, some of the things, and
Sure,
if you want
yeah.
to use it, you know, you're more than like happy. So
I
I'm
think
just gonna.
Natasha was unlucky there.
Yeah.
I really do. My heart goes out to you. I've been there.
And then we're doing like the wrong way, and then we go for the proper way. So you all know like what is the right way to do. So here we have, if you go to the advanced search, obviously you see we research internet addiction and social media. We can use exact phrase. So if we want something particular like word to use, and that's where it's going to be our focus, or you see without the word, it's like the one that we exclude with, I forgot the word, was it, oh my God, my memory, not, is from the Boolean search, if we put like the word not, so they give us the option here, if we don't want, for example, as we say, depression, let's say, okay, so we write it here. Here we can specify if we want these words to be within the title or anywhere in the article. Okay, so that would basically pick up anything if we want specifically a journal that relates to internet addiction and social media in the title. That's going to refine, like narrow down our search. And here again, if we have, this is written, if we know, let's say we have authors, for example, that their expertise in specific area, and we want to research that particular author to identify, let's say, any research output they might have or published by a specific kind of journal. And here again, we define the date. So you see, because I defined the 2022, it just took it straight away, you know, from my what I pressed previously, and kind of narrowed down my search, just like different functions again. And the last thing I want to show you from here, if you go to the settings, it's like you can show links to import citation, and here you have the different kind of reference management software, which we commonly use EndNote. So you can just again link it to EndNote and export your to import your citation to EndNote, so you have them saved. So that's it with Google Scholars. I don't want to get into much detail. So here I have a little activity. I thought in every kind of database that we cover. It's nice to just give you a little activity so you can go back and play around with the words and familiarize yourself with different functions. And sometimes students might, oh, I don't know what to research. So I just put some examples here so if you want to go back and check yourself. Okay.
No.
So the next database we're gonna, sorry.
Sorry, Mary.
Yeah.
Robin, just
Yeah.
another thing I found incredibly useful
Yeah.
in Google Scholar was, you know, where if you go back into the Google Scholar search, then you've got the results.
Let me just go. Yeah. Here.
One back when we're actually looking at the articles where it says cited.
Yeah.
If you've got, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, there aren't any. Under the cite bit, very often you'll get, it says cited by, 57. Or
Yeah. And you find, here. No, it's not that. It's because it's very relevant. You see, let me put an older one. That's why, no, cited by this one, you mean? Yeah, yes. You're correct. Yeah.
And then you can get some really,
exactly. Yeah. Or related articles.
Yeah.
The same. So it's anything. So who basically cite this journal? So it will give you more updated version, because once I published it, let's say in 2018, then whoever cited my paper, my journal, it means that it's more updated. And here you can also click the related articles, which is, it gives me again, it can narrow like to more specific search related to that particular journal, if you found that, for example, particularly interesting. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, because I pressed it to 2022. Yeah, I've missed that. Oh, good point. Thank you. Okay, so now where are we? So we're going to go and check the PsychoInfo now, which is via our library. So let me just send you the how to log in. Can you hear me? Sorry. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Oh, sorry, because it was saying my internet is unstable. Sorry. So here we're going to search social media and mental health. We're going to, again, navigate on the different functions. So I've written again down what we're going to do, but I'm going to go straight to the library now. And the library is here. So I've shared the link how we go to the database. So what we want to click in the PsychoInfo here. Okay, so if you just follow the steps with me, so we open a new window and it takes us to the PsychoInfo. And what we're going to search here, we said social media and mental health. Social media. And so we have, you see, we can check our words here. I want the and, so I want my search to include social media and mental health, both terms. This kind of function here, so it says select a field. So basically, I just leave it like that. If I want, let's say, a specific author, or if this term to be on the title, so it just gives me here, it's age group, it defines more like a methodology. And I'll tell you in a bit, I think I like it to be like that. And what I like to do, it's search options from here. So refine my search in a different kind of options here. So if you go to limit your search, you see here, we can have only to the ones that we have access to full text. So you see, Natasha, if I click this one, then it will give me only the journals, and I can define, let's say, that I can have full access. And that saves you that kind of messing around, really, that, you find something quite interesting, you can access it.
If you, at the top where you had mental health, and then you had the drop down menu and
Yeah.
or social media, should I say. If you'd have put in the first bar social media and mental health, would that bring up different results to?
You mean here?
Yes, if you'd have put the full term at the top, how would that, the results differ on that?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I think it should be the same, to be quite honest, because
Okay.
it's kind of like I'm gonna search it. Okay, I'm gonna just, the only thing that I press is like link to full text. So I want to see, if I search, I want to see how many, oops, sorry, journals do I get? So I have 2,606, yeah, 109, okay. So if we do the same here, and mental health, it should be the same, I think. Yeah, you see, it's the same.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that I think the way it's kind of, oops, the way I think they just face, just to make it basically easier, because you can see you can add more, you can take more, so it just, you can define, because sometimes you might be interested. I mean, I searched like 2 words, like 2 key terms, let's say, but it could be much more. Okay, or you might want to exclude certain things, or you might want, yeah, it can be quite, I'm just keeping it simple. Okay. All right, so where is it now? If we go, I'm gonna start again because I want to see. Social media, I think I did, and mental health. Oh, what did I do? I just, sorry for that. I'm just pressing the wrong mental health. Okay. So as I say, I've clicked on the link to full text and open access, which means open access means like anyone can access it. Here, the published data, I might want, for example, the last 20 years, the last 10 years, or the last 5 years. I can just refine my search. Okay. Here we have all journals. So by default, we have, you know, everything is like included. So we have all journals or peer-reviewed journals, which, as I say, it's very good starting point, the review journals, because it just basically done the job for us. It kind of took all the research journals and put them together in the specific kind of topic. Here we also might have, for example, we might be interested in a specific age group. So we can, again, click, you know, we're only interested in social media and mental health in adolescent. So I just refine again my search. Book type, no, we don't really. What else we can? The language, we can refine population group. And then here is quite interesting, is the methodology. So for example, I might be interested if there is like an empirical study, a clinical trial, an experimental kind of a longitudinal study. Let's say that I want to see if there is any longitudinal study, which means obviously they have data from different time frames in an adolescent group when it comes to social media and mental health. And that's what I'm interested in. So I've just refined my search and I click search. And what do I get here? So I only got, for example, 8 studies. Okay. So you can see by narrowing down your specific kind of search, how you can just make it from like a massive amount of data to quite specific. And then it's, again, it's the same kind of logic. So cited reference, so we can see the type of research this journal have used, and we can click here And that can help us, for example, again, navigate to the type of, let's say, increase our research, because that's all the reference have been used on that journal. Let's go back. Here, this is what obviously I have clicked. Okay, that's where I define my search. What else do we have? And if you click, let's say, on this particular journal, it gives you all the information. So you have the authors, the publisher, the language, the keywords. It gives you the abstract. That's very important, because when you do your literature review, you don't want to go and read the whole journal. You want to read the abstract and see whether this is relevant or not. Okay, so the abstract will give you a quick kind of idea whether this is something you want to go and read, like, let's say, read the whole journal, because it's relevant to what you're doing, what you want to research. It gives you obviously the population, who fund this project. So you have, sometimes we're interested, for example, if there's any conflict of interest and who found this type of research. It gives you the methodology that they've used. And sometimes you also get, and then obviously you have the whole journal, okay, and you can read it. And here on this side, you can add it to your folder, you can save it. If I click side, I think this, you see, let me just see the APA, what we were saying before. You see here, it tells me this is 7th edition. So I'm sure that it's according to what I need to reference. Okay.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
Okay, sorry, I'm just having that. Okay. I think,
Maria,
yeah,
I've got a query, if I may.
yeah, yeah.
And just looking at what you just looked at there, which is fantastic. Going back to what Natasha was saying right at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that I don't fall into if we're making exclusions in those searches,
Yeah.
while we're kind of learning about it, if we're making exclusions, like using the word not, is it likely that we're going to exclude ourselves by accident from things that we actually want to be seeing?
It will be, but you know, I would say when you start generic, okay, because I didn't use any note here. If you see, it's like I've just used social media and mental health.
Yeah.
What I kind of narrow my research down to is like whether I have open access. So I have like and full text. So I have full on access, and I've basically narrowed to adolescent population, because let's say I'm interested to do research in that age group. That's what I want to do. Hypothetically, if I wasn't and I was looking, I don't know, at adults and things, I could just click adults and find different kind of outcomes. This is not excluding, this is like more directing my research in the specific area that I want to do. Imagine that you weren't like aware, like you weren't sure what you want to do, just leave it generic. Have a look at the different kind of resources you're getting, and that would might inform you, like that might guide you, give you an idea of what you want to do.
Maria, sorry, this is probably a
Yeah.
really stupid question, but what's the difference between open access and linked to the full text?
So the open access, basically anyone can have access to the resources. I mean, I'm not a librarian, so I'm not really familiar with it, but open access. So if you publish a journal and there is that kind of requirement, some of the journals, they have open access. So anyone can access the journal from the Google Scholar, from anywhere. Where is the full, I think was that the full access, was it the full
text?
That means that the University of Essex pays the fees to that specific journal, and then we have access via the University of Essex library.
That makes sense, thank you.
Yeah. So I think that's it. Most of the things you can see, you can export and or you can email to yourself, etc. So these are some of the main functions. Do you have any questions so far? And you can see it's kind of keeping what I have researched. So I can view my results, you see. So as you were saying about excluding your research and things like that, so you can start very broad, it will be there, your results, and then you can start narrowing it down. So you will still have the access, you want all the information, but obviously you cannot go and read 4,195 papers. It's just like impossible. Okay. So the next one, again, here we have some, that's by the library, obviously, some extra resources. I just highlight them here. So all this information can be found in the library, and I've just identified. So it's like these YouTube videos, and there are different kind of webinars and recordings, so you can watch if you want to get more information. And again, here I have a little activity for you to do when you have more time. So just give some examples. So for example, gambling and mental health, eating disorders and parenting. So you can just playing around with the words and see, like, keep it very generic. And then what I would suggest, start filtering down like certain kind of things you want to focus on. So it might be the different methodology. You might want to focus on clinical trials or longitudinal studies or qualitative research, etc. So you might want to narrow down your research. Just use the different functions. And I think the more you familiarize yourself, the easier it becomes. The next one is the PubMed. And again, the link is by the library. Here we're going to research addiction. And again, let me just share the link. Let's go. Is it here? Yeah, okay. So if we go down, we have the PubMed. So this is the link to PubMed. Just open it, and here we can click addictions. Addiction. And we click search. And then this is all the journals we have. 16,770. So it's very generic. My search is just like addiction. So here, so that's like, it says the last year. So obviously it just narrow my search automatically in the last year. I think I did it from before actually, which I was playing around. So you can see now the journals have increased massively. So if I narrow here, what happened, you know, what kind of research I have within the field of addiction, which obviously is massive, the last year. And here I have like the different kind of research funders. So I might have a specific kind of organization that funded this particular research that I want to focus on and see what kind of outcomes, you know, what kind of research outcomes they came from this kind of funder resource. Oh my God, I'm just getting confused now. So additional filters, we can click here. There are not many like as the previous one. So what I wanted to show here, let me just look at that. So here it's cited by. So here we have the site kind of again. And it doesn't tell us whether it's APA 7. It's the same kind of thing as before, so we need to make sure. I think this can be checked very easily by if we check one journal and we see there is consistency with the version of APA 7, then we can make sure that that's what they're using, the update version. Okay, so in the previous one, it was actually telling us that they were using APA 7, version 7. What else do we have? we can just go to the PDF here. It will be straight away. Let me just go back. And here we have all the search details. So I put basically addiction and what it just use all these kind of words together. So any kind of, it's quite complicated that, but it does it for me. So it basically included any addiction, addictive behavior, etc. for the research, like to find all these journals. So this is quite nice because you can basically see more. Let me just see. You see here, I can basically copy paste that when I say I've used that kind of search word, and that's what, you know, my research was based. That was the terminology they used. And that's what we do it mostly, like a lot of the times when we do systematic reviews, etc. So it kind of does it for us. And I think it's the same kind of logic here, you know, nothing different. You can just add some filters, you know, it's more kind of, well, you can have the open access here. So you can refine to open access. So the things that we can actually see, you know, we can have the full view of the journal. And that's it, I think, for the PubMed. Any questions so far? So let's just go to the web of. So here I also, these are a lot of resources that the library has, tutorials about different kind of search filters, etc., related to the PubMed. And again, some activity you can play around with this specific database. And the next one, I think because we're running a bit late now, is the Web of Science, which I really want to demonstrate, has some kind of different, I like the visualization kind of thing that it has, the Web of Science. Let me just go to this. So what were we searching? We're searching addiction or internet addiction. Okay, so it basically searches for both. Let me just go back to my library. So we want Web of Science. Okay. So here, all fill addiction or internet addiction. I have it from before. So you can add a row. Okay, you can add a date range, etc. And if I click search, here is my results. But what I like is this one, analyze results. And it gives me a really nice kind of like visualization of all the outcomes that are researched, which you can use. And what I can actually download these. Let me just open that. Let me just share that. And that's what I'm gonna get. Can you see? So it's quite nice. And say, for example, in my research in the Web of Science, I've typed, you know, these keywords, and that's what I've got. It's just a nice visual presentation of your, when you do your literature review, something to add on. So that's like a feature that not the other database have. Let me just, again, go back to my. Okay, so if I go back to my search results. So here again, review articles, early access. So the early access, it's like, I think it's like before they actually publish the full-on journal. So they are like in the process like of publishing the full kind of the full journal. So there might be a manuscript kind of thing, so you can get the latest kind of research in the area. Again, we have open access, so we can click that. As I say, review articles are very good start when you do your research, your literature review search. Here we go, we can refine again our search based on the publication year or the document type. So these are articles, there is review articles, meeting abstracts, etc. So I might just want to focus only on articles and review articles. So I can refine my search. This is the different kind of categories. So we have substance abuse, psychiatry, neuroscience. Again, depending on what you want to research. So we have all the different kind of areas really. Okay, so we can again refine our search based on a particular kind of area we want to focus on. Authors again, so for example, Griffiths is a big name, you know, in behavioral addiction, so I might want to focus on what he have published. I want to focus on behavioral addiction, so that's where I'm going to refine, let's say, my research. I want to see anything, any research outcome that Griffiths have published, from which university or organization the research have come out. Like here we have the affiliations, publication titles, so that's like the different kind of journals we have, the publisher, and it just goes on and on. You can see the different kind of filters you have basically to narrow your research. Here you see we have full access to this kind of journals, and again we have 48 reference, let's say, which is what this journal like reference, so we can go and research further. But also this journal has been already cited 8 times, so we can go and see the more updated kind of research related, you know, who else have referenced this journal, which again, it can lead us, it can refine our research. And if I click here, here you can see again, you can create a citation alert based on that particular kind of search. So I can get updates when there is a new research based on my criteria comes out. And then I can export, I think, where is it? As an EndNote. So again, it kind of communicates with reference management software, so I can export and, you know, save my research for that particular assignment, etc. So I can have a quick access to what, let's say, the journals that I want to focus on. So I can research, save them, and then go back to my note and see what, let's say, my whole research looks like. So yeah, basically, I think that's what I want to cover today. Do you have any questions so far?
Yeah, I've got one.
Yeah.
Another one, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's...
With journals, is there a
Yeah.
list of, because I know that there are some that are more respected than
Yeah.
others. So if you've got an essay and you have filled it with journals from very well respected, you know, journals, essentially, is there like a list anywhere that we actually should probably be looking at X, Y, and Z rather than A, B, and C? Because although A, B, and C might have a bit of information, they're not as well respected via peers and what have you within the field than the other ones.
Yeah, so what you need to, that is very hard in a way, like it depends on the specific subject area within psychology. So for example, developmental psychology have their own journals, than addiction, than social psychology, and what you want to research, and that's when you can refine your, I'll go back and I'll show you. So here you see the publication titles. So here, these are the journals. So for example, addiction journal is one of the top in the addiction area. You need to find the impact factor of journals. That's how it's called, impact factor. And that can be found from different resources, but you might want to find high impact factors of research in the addiction field, and that will give you a list of different journals that they're highly respected, as you said. But also, I think a very good indication when you do a research, it's like the citations. So if a journal has, obviously that's quite, let's say it's only 2019, so you wouldn't expect to have like so many citations. But for example, there are some review journals, you see this one. So it has 451 citations, which means so many people have referenced that journal. Is definitely going to be a good one.
Okay, right.
So you
Thank
see, it's like a different way. So American Journal of Drug and Alcohol Abuse, again, it's a very good one. It's a different way cycle to look what is very good. But as I say, it might be, it's not necessarily, because it can be a very good, very specialized, let's say, journal. So not many people reference it because it's very, very specific. But it's just like a little kind of understanding how you can identify good quality journals.
And does that have a bearing in the marks that you might get on your essays? So, for example, if you are referencing high quality journals, there might be an argument to say that your research is a little bit more thorough than if you've been researching from those well or less well known.
Again, it's not a yes, no, like correct or wrong answer, but what you have when your research is based on high impact journals, then you're more likely the information you get from these journals to be very valid and accurate, the methodology they use, etc. So basically, you would have as a student a very good starting point of how to do a proper research the right way, because
Sure.
they would give you the right information. So if you see, for example, and that comes with experience, if you see like to publish, obviously, you know, some research might publish in a very low impact journal, and you go and read the journal and you're like, oh, okay, you know, like what exactly have you done in your methodology? You know, the data, the way you analyze doesn't look very right to me. You're not going to find that in a high impact journal.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So I think that's it. I had actually, because I mean, it's kind of the same logic, but we're running a little bit out of time. Like I have the last one, which was the Scopus, which is actually the same exactly logic. Okay, it's not something the same kind of different functions, but now I think you got the understanding of how we refined our searches and what are the things we're looking. What I wanted to focus here, we have some more database, but I think these are the main ones we use in psychology. If you focus on the PsychoInfo, Web of Science, PubMed and Scopus, you'll be like absolutely, I think, all right with your search. The last thing to finish, just very generic kind of tips, like when you do your literature review, it's trying to focus on specific topic of your research, because one of the things, as I said, students get overwhelmed because you think, oh my God, I have 12,000 journals, I need to research them all and make sure that I haven't missed anything. It's impossible. I'll tell you now, it's impossible to research everything, and try and focus on the most relevant material, because that would most likely give you an indication of what happened previously. Because the way we do research is like, it's like an evolving kind of process. So it's not like if I go and do let's say a research like in addiction, I need to research what happened previously, and that will inform my research idea, because I need to identify a gap, which you would see if I published in my research, you would see where I come from. So what happened in the past, and that will give you, you know, easy kind of update without going back in all the material. So that's why we say the most relevant, you know, and updated kind of journals. Okay. We don't want, I think the last 5 years will probably be a very good kind of starting point. And it would be the best to identify evidence that justify your research question. That's why I said in the beginning, try and do some mind maps with the main kind of keywords and try to be very specific of what you want to research. Like, don't say, oh, the relation between mental health and internet addiction, let's say. That's very generic. Try to be quite specific, what exactly you want to find, what exactly you want to research, and that would make your search of, you know, the journals quite specific. And here we have, suppose you have more than one variable. So for example, you're interested in educational levels or socioeconomic background, ethnicity, and addiction. So you need to research all these kind of variables and the relationships of these variables together. So again, this is kind of my advice to you. It's like when you do like your research, trying to keep things simple, because if you overcomplicate things, that you can imagine, the more keywords you add in your research, the more, like, the amount of journals you get, it will increase massively. So you want to focus on quite specific kind of things. Okay. So organize your literature review by focusing your research on 3 elements: your research topic, the chronological order of your research finding, and the generic to specific. So generic problem to solution research type. So try and see, for example, as I said, in the research, we start from, let's say, 20 years ago. Obviously, there are massive changes. So the information we have, the outcomes that we have from the research informs what is happening nowadays. So it's important we're keeping our research updated. Okay. Be specific and simple, and that's kind of my generic advice when it comes to your literature review search. And that's it for me today. I think I said too much. I hope I didn't overwhelm you.
Thank you so much. Great.
So I'm gonna thank you everyone for being here and sharing, you know, your ideas and your questions. I'm gonna upload
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. The recording and all the records from the workshops, so it's going to be in the Psychology Technical Hub workshops. And if you have any questions in the meantime and you're unsure, just email me or book one-to-one time with me. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So much.
Bye. Have a lovely
Bye.
day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.